I thought it was a person.
I've always preferred hiking alone. There's something about the quiet and the distance from people that helps me clear my head. Last weekend, I decided to take a trip up to Mount Rainier, planning to camp solo and hit a section of the Wonderland Trail starting near Box Canyon. Things were normal for most of the day. Typical March weather, wet, gray, but manageable. I didn't see a single person after the first few miles, which isn't unusual this time of year. But around mid-afternoon, while crossing a section near Indian Bar, I noticed someone ahead on the trail. They were too far to make out clearly. Just a dark figure, maybe 100 yards ahead, partially obscured by trees. I called out, thinking maybe it was another solo hiker or someone who'd gotten separated from their group. No response. I kept moving, and after a while, they were gone. About an hour later, I spotted them again. Closer this time, maybe 50 yards off trail, standing completely still behind a fallen tree. What struck me was how pale their face looked, even from a distance. Again, I called out. Nothing. This time I felt it. A mass of discomfort which built in my chest. The prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like I was being watched. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe some lost hiker was too scared to respond? Maybe someone is messing with me? I picked up my pace, but no matter how far I hiked, every time I glanced to the side or behind me, I'd catch flashes of them. Standing just out of sight, behind a tree or up on a ridge, always watching but never approaching. By dusk, I was rattled. I set up camp further off trail than usual, thinking maybe I could avoid whoever it was. As night fell, the woods grew dead silent. No wind, no animal sounds. Just me sitting in my tent, clutching my bear spray like an idiot. At some point past midnight, I heard crunching footsteps outside. Slow, deliberate, circling my tent. When I finally worked up the nerve to peek out, there was no one there. But I noticed fresh footprints leading deeper into the woods. Bare footprints in the freezing dirt. I should have packed up and left. But something about it, I can't explain it. It didn't feel threatening. It felt like I was supposed to follow. So I did. The footprints led me downhill off trail, weaving through dense forest for what felt like miles. Eventually, I came to a clearing I'd never seen before, despite hiking Rainier for years. In the center was an old, overgrown well, stones crumbling, choked with weeds. The footprints ended there. I got closer. And that's when the smell hit me. Something foul, metallic, and sweet all at once. A distinct smell of roadkill of some sort. I shined my light into the well. At first, I thought it was animal remains, but it wasn't. It was a human body, decomposed and crumpled at the bottom. Clothes shredded, limbs bent wrong. Whoever it was had been there a long time. I backed away, shook an egg, and that's when I noticed there was someone standing on the opposite side of the clearing, staring at me. Same pale face, same dark figure. Only this time, I could see them clearly. They looked like they'd been dead for years. Sunken eyes, hollow cheeks, torn clothing, mud-stained and silent. But the worst part was the faint smile on their face, like they were relieved, like they'd been waiting for someone to find it. I bolted. When I returned with the rangers the next day, the clearing was still there. The well was still there. The body was still there. They're investigating now, but they told me it could be decades old. No ID yet. And that person, the pale figure, I never saw them again. But part of me wonders if they led me there on purpose. Like they'd been trapped all this time, waiting for someone to notice. The cabin sat quietly at the edge of the forest, small, wooden, and perfect for someone who wanted silence. Ethan had come here to find peace, to escape the constant noise of the city. He brought nothing but his laptop, a few groceries, and promised to himself that he wouldn't check his phone for the next 3 days. For the first few hours, everything felt right. The wind outside was gentle. The walls creaked softly as the night settled in. He made coffee, read a little, and went to bed early. But then, pause. Around midnight, he woke up. At first, he thought it was just the wind, rustling through the trees, but then he heard it again. Footsteps, soft, slow, deliberate, right above him. He froze. The ceiling was just a flat wooden panel. The cabin had no stairs, no second floor. He waited. The steps came again, pacing slowly, back and forth. Then silence. Only his heartbeat in his ears. Ethan sat up, whispering to himself. Maybe it's an animal, maybe raccoons or something. But deep down, something in the rhythm of those steps felt too human. The next morning, he searched the ceiling, went outside, even climbed a nearby slope to look at the roof. Nothing. No holes, no tracks, no sound. Still that night, it came back. Pause. The same time, the same steps, but now heavier, as if whoever or whatever it was had moved closer. The plates in the kitchen rattled, the door hinges creaked, and then, for the first time, Ethan heard breathing right above his bed. He whispered, "Who's there?" Silence. Then, 3 soft knocks from the ceiling. He didn't sleep that night. By morning, he packed his bag ready to leave, but when he opened the front door, the knob was icy cold. His car keys, which he'd left on the table, were gone. It was as if the cabin didn't want him to go. That evening, desperate for answers, Ethan set up his phone to record through the night. He left it pointing toward the ceiling and sat awake on the couch. At 2:47 a.m., the cabin began to creak. Then came the footsteps, slow, circling, right above him. He whispered again, voice shaking, "What do you want?" No reply, just a faint scraping sound, like nails dragging across wood. When the sun rose, he grabbed the phone to check the footage. His hands trembled as he pressed play. The video showed his cabin exactly as it was, quiet still, until the timestamp hit 2:47. A faint shadow appeared on the ceiling, then another. They moved like people pacing, but there was no one visible. And then, for just a second, a face formed in the dark wood, staring down at him. Ethan dropped the phone. That was enough. He bolted for the door, ran into the cold morning air, and didn't stop until he reached the main road. Days later, when he gathered the courage to show the footage to the local ranger, the man only frowned. He said, "You stayed in the Miller cabin, didn't you?" Ethan nodded. The ranger sighed. "That place hasn't had an upstairs for decades. It used to, until the old family died in a fire. The upper floor collapsed. People say, sometimes, you can still hear them walking." Ethan never went back. But sometimes, when he can't sleep, he swears he still hears it. Those same slow footsteps, pacing right above him, all 8 on the ground. Not broken, not chewed, just unscrewed from the trees and placed neatly in a pile beside the front steps, like a message, like a warning. I put them back up. 2 days later, they were closer. 3 of them had been moved, not far, just 10 feet in, angled toward the windows now. I didn't sleep that night. I brought the cams inside that morning, locked the door behind me, double-checked the windows. Each camera had about 5 hours of footage, mostly empty woods, the occasional raccoon, branches swaying in the wind. But then I got to the fifth one. Timestamp, 2:13 am. Movement, the camera jolts slightly, like someone's adjusting it. Then it re-angles itself, pointing not at the trail, but at the cabin window. Mine, the one facing my bed. It sat still for 2 full minutes. Then something stepped into frame. Not all at once. Just a shoulder, then a leg. Long, thin, but covered in something dark and matted like wet bark or hair. It moved slow, too slow, like it didn't care if it was seen. Then it turned, just its head, and I swear to God it looked at the camera, right at it. Then, frame by frame, it smiled. Not human, not animal, just a jagged split of dark between fur. And behind it, another face, smaller, pressed against the glass of the cabin window, looking in. I packed within 10 minutes, clothes, knife, batteries, radio. I didn't even turn the generator off. I just left. I took the west trail, steeper but faster. It runs past 3 old fire lookouts and hits the service road at mile 12. From there, it's a 5-mile descent to where I parked the truck. I made it 3 miles before I realized I wasn't alone. It wasn't footsteps. It was the silence. Birds, insects, even wind, gone. Like the forest had sucked in a breath and was holding it. That's when I saw the first cairn. Stacked stones, 6 of them, carefully balanced in the middle of the trail. Nothing odd on its own, except there was a scrap of red flannel tucked beneath the top stone. I didn't own anything red. A mile later, I saw another. This one had a tooth resting on top. Human. I kept moving, didn't stop to breathe. Just head down, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. Until I looked up and saw the cabin. My cabin. The same stack of cameras in a pile by the steps. Same dent in the railing from when I slipped hauling wood last week. I'd walked for 5 hours in one direction. And somehow, I'd come back. There were fresh footprints on the porch, but only one set. Mine. I didn't go inside. I just sat on the porch, staring at the footprints. Same tread pattern, same width, same weight distribution. Mine. But I don't remember walking in circles. I don't remember coming back. I checked my phone. The timestamp said 3:08 p.m., then 3:08 p.m. again, then 3:07. I checked the radio. Dead, no static. Just that same low hum, like a throat clearing on the other end of the line. I stayed outside until dusk, didn't eat, didn't move. When the first shadow passed between the trees, I almost didn't see it. It didn't move like anything should, didn't step or glide. It just shifted, like something flickering between places. I backed toward the door. The handle was warm. Inside, everything was where I left it. Bag still packed. Flashlight on the floor. Window cracked open, just a bit. And something new. A photo. Resting in the center of the bed. It was old, weathered, black and white. 5 men in ranger uniforms. Cabin in the background, all of them smiling, all of them with my face. And behind them, a shape in the tree line, barely visible, except for the eyes, reflective, watching. I turned the photo over. Someone had written something in pencil. Faded, almost gone. Don't forget which one you are. I tried to laugh, but I couldn't remember what my voice sounded like. The forest was so still that evening, it felt like the trees themselves were holding their breath. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a pale orange glow that filtered through miles of pine. The air smelled like moss and rain. Every crunch beneath our boots echoed longer than it should have. We were 4 friends, Jenna, Mark, Adil, and me, on what was supposed to be a simple weekend hike. The plan was to camp near an old lake deep in the valley, a place marked on the map, but barely mentioned online. No reviews, no tourists, no trails on GPS. It was perfect. The deeper we went, the quieter it became. Even the birds had stopped calling. The path narrowed until we were walking single file through thin fog that drifted across the ground. My flashlight beam cut through the mist, catching the shine of dew on leaves. And then Jenna stopped. "Wait," she whispered. Up ahead, in the clearing, there was a tent. At first, we thought maybe someone had arrived before us. But as we got closer, the strangeness of it settled in. The tent was old. Its fabric was faded to a sickly brown, patched in a few places. Moss crawled up one side, like it had been standing there for months. Yet somehow, the tent looked undisturbed. No fire pit, no backpacks, no signs of people. Just one tent, perfectly zipped up, sitting in silence. "Maybe a hunter's," Mark said. "Or someone camping alone," I offered. But the air around it felt off, heavy, colder than the rest of the forest. When I breathed out, I could see my breath cloud even though the night wasn't that cold. We called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" No answer. The only sound was the faint rustling of leaves high above. After a minute, Jenna crouched near the flap. "We should check," she said softly. "What if someone's hurt?" I didn't want to. Every instinct told me not to. But she was right. So I grabbed the zipper and pulled it down slowly. The sound of it, that sharp zzz, was loud in the silence. Inside, nothing. No person, no sleeping bag, just a rolled-up mat, a metal lantern, and an old camera. The lantern flickered faintly, even though there were no batteries inside. And the camera was still recording. Jenna picked it up. Her hand trembled as she pressed play. The screen lit up with static, then slowly cleared. The footage showed a clearing. This clearing. Our clearing. And in the video, we saw ourselves. The 4 of us walking in, laughing, setting down our gear. But the timestamp on the corner said 5:23 p.m. It was now 10:47. We hadn't even arrived until nearly sunset. I felt my throat tighten. What the hell is this? Mark grabbed the camera, rewinding, but it only played that one scene, over and over, us arriving hours before we really did. The same gestures, same clothes, same angle, like we were being filmed before we existed. We decided to leave, but by then the fog had thickened, and the forest around us looked different, unfamiliar. The trail we came from seemed to vanish into the mist. So we stayed. We pitched our tents a few meters away from the old one, though none of us could sleep. Every creak, every rustle made us flinch. Sometime around midnight, I woke to the sound of footsteps, soft, slow, circling. I held my breath and listened. They moved just outside the tent, crunching on damp leaves, pausing every few seconds as if listening back. I unzipped a small slit in the flap and shone my light outside. The beam swept over fog, trees, and, for a split second, a figure standing near the old tent. It looked like Jenna. Same jacket, same posture. But Jenna was sleeping beside me. I blinked, and she was gone. The next morning, the old tent was gone too. Just a square mark in the dirt where it had stood, and a faint, wet patch shaped like a footprint. We packed fast, barely speaking. But before we left, I noticed something strange. Our own tent now looked a little older, the edges of the fabric darker, a patch of moss starting to cling near the bottom. I told myself it was just damp air, forest moisture. But deep down, I knew. When we reached the main trail again, Jenna checked the camera one last time. It was still recording, but this time, the footage showed 4 empty tents sitting quietly in the clearing. No people, just stillness. We never went back. But sometimes, when I can't sleep, I open my phone's gallery and scroll through my old pictures from that trip. And every now and then, I see a tent behind us in the background, one we never noticed standing there before.